Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another figure review. Now today we're going to be having a look at the 1/4 scale Iron Man Mark 45. Now if you did watch my unboxing, I did pick this guy up pretty recently and he's added in to my growing 1/4 scale collection. So I'm really loving the 1/4 scale line from Hot Toys. I've just picked up the Iron Man Mark 42 as well, and the Mark 43 is well on its way. So you should be expecting pretty much by now that when they all arrive, I'll be doing one huge comparison video and basically comparing all the intricate little details between all three of the figures. So definitely do stay tuned for that. Now, I also quickly want to mention OSA. Now, OSA is 16 Australia. It's a Facebook group that I'm a part of. It's run by the guy over at Sci-Fi Toys. His name is Anto. He's a great guy. He's got a lot of knowledge when it comes to the 1/6 scale stuff, so definitely do check out the Facebook page. It's a great community, especially for buying and selling, so definitely do check it out. I'll have the link in the description. Also, guys, please check out my Instagram. I just posted the video on how I actually went ahead and fixed the neck peg on the Chris Reeves Superman. So I posted that in my story on Instagram. So I'll be posting more stuff there from now on. So definitely do follow me over there if you're interested in seeing little videos like that. But without further ado now, let's get all the accessories for this guy out here and take a look at everything he comes with. Now, when it comes to these 1/4 scale figures, you usually expect a lot more in terms of accessories. And you obviously did get a bit of a quick glimpse at the accessories in the unboxing if you did watch that video. If you haven't, go ahead and check that out. And you basically get an idea of how it comes out of the box, this, or more intricate details on the packaging, because I do like to sort of skip over that in the review. But anyway, the accessories themselves are few and far between, but they are done quite well. The paintwork, of course, is excellent, as you would come to expect. There's a nice level of sort of painted sort of scoring, and it looks really good. Now, these are magnetically attached, at least the chest plate is, so that's nice. It's the only battle damage part you get on the entire thing. Now, he does also come with two sets of alternate hands, this one being the repulsor hands, and they do have the piece sculpted on. It doesn't have that annoying flap, which the Mark 43 and Mark 42 both have. Now, the hands are painted quite well. The articulated hands do not have the black paint in the joints, which a lot of people have mentioned as a bit of a complaint. It's not too bad. The 1/6 scale figures from the Mark 46 onwards have had the paint in those joints, so I assume with the upcoming Mark 3, we'll have the paint in those joints. Now, this is not the exclusive version, but it does come with this cannon instead of the Ultron Sentry head sculpt, and you get the red eye version with the Mark 45, the blue eye version with the Mark 43. Now, I'm not exactly sure if my Mark 43 is going to be coming with it. I'll have to wait and see when that arrives. But this is basically a cannon. It's a bit interesting how there's sort of rocks and dirt painted in here. It's a bit weird that they've actually gone ahead and done that, but I guess it sort of goes along with the display base, which we'll get to in a second. It also comes with this clear sort of white piece that you can attach to the arc reactor, and it simulates a sort of lit up look, and it looks something like that. Not the best accessory in my opinion, and it was a bit of a last minute addition if I'm remembering correctly. Now, this display base is really good to look at, but incredibly hard to get the figure sort of posed on. It is flatter than the awful one that comes with the Mark 43, which we will have a look at when that arrives. This is sort of flatter than that, so you can get his feet sort of standing on there, but it's still not 100% perfect. Now, there is a piece of an Ultron Sentry back there, but there is also this sort of dirt and debris on top of the Ultron drone. It's a bit weird that that's sort of sculpted in there, and the sculpting on here is just a little bit soft. I would have preferred some more sort of jagged edges and pieces that look like broken metal, but I guess this is done for durability's sake. But even on the back, you can see a nice level of sculpted and painted detail, as you'd come to expect, especially on something so large. So what we're going to do now that we've looked at all the accessories, we're going to get the figure himself out here and take a look at the armor. Now, from the first time I took this figure out of the box, I was absolutely awestruck by the paintwork. He's absolutely gorgeous. You can see the gloss and the reflectivity just compared to the other 1/4 scale Iron Man figures. I mean, this is just worlds apart in terms of the paintwork. Now, there are other areas where those other 1/4 scale Iron Man figures do sort of improve over this one, and I will touch on those when I do the Mark 42 review, and the Mark 43 I assume is going to be the same. But the paintwork cannot be beaten on this guy. It's so glossy and just gorgeous. This does really look like the Ferrari of Iron Man suits. It's really stunning. Now, I do apologize if I'm cutting off the top of his head here. This is the top of my light box. Literally, he is as tall as the light box, which is very difficult when I'm going to be reviewing more of these 1/4 scale figures. I might have to invest in a bigger reviewing space. Now, the back is really nicely done as well. What's sort of interesting is the weathering pattern on these gold parts are pretty much exactly the same. Interesting, they must just be sort of printed on there. Now, if you did see the review, this part did sort of fall off. I am being very careful with it, just because the glue that I use Loctite, which is usually pretty good, but for some reason it's not really working. And the plastic itself is bare, there's no paint on that piece, so the two plastics should bond together quite nice. I'm not exactly sure why they're not bonding very well, but either way, he does have the operational sort of flat pieces, which do look really awesome, and they do sort of pop out and then up, which is nice, and they do light up blue on the inside there once you have all the batteries installed, which is pretty cool. So they've done a real good job of these sort of flat pieces, and the fact that they sit almost completely flush in the back, you wouldn't even think to assume that there were sort of working flat pieces in there. They have done an awesome job hiding those little details there, which is very nice. Now, his chest piece also does detach, and you can install the battle damage piece. It is literally as simple as just removing it, and then you can pop the battle damage piece onto the chest, just like so. So bring it in. Literally, it just slides on there, which is very awesome. Sorry about that weird pause. I was literally reaching over to pick that piece up. But you can see all the really nice detailing included there as well. Now, this piece obviously does sort of move around a little bit because that is removable, and you can replace it with the white section. I do prefer the clear section. It gives just a little bit more detail, and I kind of like the way that looks just a little bit more. Now, the faceplate obviously can remove because of the light up gimmick, but there is no Tony Stark head sculpt under there, unfortunately, which is kind of annoying. I know that we never really saw him in this suit reveal his face to the world, but, you know, I still wish they kind of included that. But anyway, let's not nitpick about those little things. I'm just going to move the camera down a little bit, and I'll give you a look at the rest of the armor. I've just stopped the camera at the upper thigh sort of area just because I want to show you this interesting piece of articulation that I didn't think really was a thing, to be honest with you, but it can bend sort of all the way in at the wrist, so you get a really, really sort of deep crunch there, and I like the way they've done that. It's really awesome. I wish they would do that on some of the 1/6 scale figures. Now, he also does have the pop-out laser sort of section, which is very, very, very difficult to get out, but you basically slide this panel forward, and then you can wedge something in there to get out the laser section. Now, just give me 1 second. I'm going to get a tool to see if I can wedge that out with. Bring out this pry tool sort of piece. You literally just wedge it up under there, and then this laser piece can be removed. Now, unfortunately, it does not come with those laser sort of pieces that you can attach on, like the 1/6 scale version did. The 1/4 scale version, I guess they just would have been too damn large for them to include that on the bigger one. So that's what it looks like with the laser piece extended out. It looks pretty awesome. It is a pain in the bum to get it out, and even to put it back in, it's just as difficult because it gets caught on this piece here, and then it's a pain to get that back in there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to move the camera down and give you a look at the rest of the armor. Sorry about that really annoying laser piece, but it's just really, really frustrating to get back into the slot there. But anyway, the detail on the legs is outstanding, as you would come to expect, including some of the nice damage on the paintwork there. It looks really awesome. And now something that I don't know if they included on the 1/6 scale version, but they definitely did include in this version, is the sort of opening up panels on the legs, which is really, really awesome, and a nice piece of added detail. They've obviously done this on some of the other Iron Man suits, but I don't really think that the Mark 45 on the 1/6 scale version at least had this panel movable, and I'm really impressed with how it actually does look. Now, it is a lighter sort of piece than you would expect. I mean, the Mark 42 1/4 scale figure is heavier because there is some more die cast in the joints. I don't know if this guy has any die cast in his joints, unfortunately, but that Mark 42, and I assume the Mark 43 also does, so I'm very impressed with how they feel. This guy's just a little bit light, but I think the paintwork more than makes up for it. Comparing these two to one another, you can see that there is a bit of a difference in terms of the quality of the paintwork, in terms of the high gloss finish on the Mark 45 versus the Mark 42. Now, you can see the Mark 42 is just a little bit taller than the Mark 45, and it could be down to the weird sort of funky pose I had to put him in. He's leaning off to the side just a tiny little bit because this reviewing space is not flat, so he is a little bit hard to keep standing. In fact, both of them are. So the comparison video might be a little bit tricky. I might have to do it on the table like I did with the Hulkbuster. But anyway, enough about that. You can see how these two look together. Stay tuned for the comparison video. When the Mark 43 arrives, I'm going to bring them all out here and do one huge comparison. This 1/4 scale Iron Man Mark 45 is just gorgeous. I absolutely cannot say enough good things about this figure. Now, obviously, this is my very first 1/4 scale Iron Man figure. Now, I've picked up the Mark 42 and the Mark 43. I probably said that about 1,000,000 times, and you guys are sick of hearing it by now, but either way, I've picked them up. They're on their way. I'll be doing a comparison video with them. and I really do just absolutely love the look of this figure. It's just the paintwork, just the feel of it in the hand, the gloss, it just looks so good, and I'm very impressed. Now, I do love the Mark 45 design, which I know a lot of people aren't really feeling, but it does look very sort of similar to the Mark 50. So I guess if you like the Mark 50, you should sort of like the Mark 45 as well. So definitely do pick it up if you see it sort of here and there. Now, this is one of the more expensive ones because it isn't that old. When I was in Hong Kong, I saw Hong Kong sellers actually still selling this guy, and people were picking this guy up from Secret Base. So definitely do check out my photos from Secret Base on my Instagram, because I have some photos from there on ACGHK as well in the story sort of section. So do definitely check that out. Also check out 16 Australia. It's where I buy some of my figures, and they're a great bunch of guys. So in the meantime, guys, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.